Good morning. It's Friday, so I haven't done a video in a couple of days, and I'll tell you why. Wednesday morning, I came in, and sun was not quite up yet. I was planning on doing a video outside, and so I had to wait for a while for it to get a little bit light. So I spent 5 hours outside on Wednesday morning. So 5 hours, 42 takes. Constant interruptions. Amazingly, the very same garbage truck interrupted me like 6 or 7 times. People going by with dogs, my own errors and traffic, and people coming up and going, "Oh, I see you're doing something. Can I talk to you for a minute?" But anyway, after 5 hours and so many takes, I finally just gave up. I was so frustrated. I was so angry that anything that I might have managed to record certainly would not have been uplifting. I mean, it wouldn't have any spirit in it aside from this spirit of just of anger. I felt as though I was beating my head against the wall, just like trying, and I have a really hard time accepting defeat. I tend to not accept failure from myself. Like I know I can't lift a car and stuff like that, but so there are certain things that I can tolerate. But when I put my mind to something and just all these outside influences stop me, and it's incredibly enraging actually as what it is. And I think because it affects my pride. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest here, it affects my self-image. But anyway, finally, after hours, I just had to accept the fact that this video was simply not going to happen, and continuing to persevere was really it was wrecking my mood, and it was not going to take us anywhere good. So I gave up. And I went home and I thought about it a little bit. And this anger and frustration is not really a new thing. Certainly in the intensity of it on Wednesday, that was something else entirely. But I'm coming up on getting close to 4 years in ministry, and there's one thing that certainly I was not prepared for in seminary, and that's how much of ministry is administration and meetings and committees, and it feels like we spend more time talking about things than doing things. And this is not a criticism of St. Paul's. I mean, any institution is like this, right? That we get so top heavy with bureaucracy that it's hard to actually do things. So yeah, I found like this frustration had been growing, that there's so much administration and background work to ministry that I never knew about. And I was actually approaching burnout, if I'm going to be really open about this. And I would look at what I spent my day doing, and I'd think, is this what Jesus was talking about when he gave that great mission statement, when he read from the scroll in the synagogue, where he said that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, and freedom for the prisoners, sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, and proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And I thought, is any of what I'm doing actually falling under this umbrella? And so ministry was getting somewhat frustrated, truth be told. And then this shutdown came. And with the shutdown, most of our meetings have stopped, and that gives us a chance to take a breather from the everyday. And it allowed me to start thinking about ministry and what I thought ministry was really supposed to be. And one thing that I started doing during the shutdown were daily devotionals. And I really enjoyed doing them for the most part. I find with the little daily interactions, they're short little 7, 8, 9 minute videos. And it's much more intimate and informal than a Sunday worship. So I'm able to be more kind of honest and direct, and it's kind of like the children's story in the sermon, but I get to do that every day. And most of the time, it's a good thing. The videos serve as a communication, although it is only one way, but it's something that I can share with the congregation, and usually something that I've been pondering and wrestling with, something I've been laughing about even. and these are things that I can share. And it's much like, kind of like an Ignatian examen every day, right? Where I'm focusing on something that happened during the previous couple of days and just looking for God's presence within it, looking for God's handiwork. But along the way, over the weeks, I've noticed that something has changed. And my morning sharing has started turning into work. Now, I don't mean that it requires discipline and effort to do, because anything worthwhile requires discipline and effort. But it started to become less about sharing God's word and God's presence and more about production. And that became very evident on Wednesday morning. And I had to ask myself, these daily videos, is what I'm doing, is it about good news and freedom and sight and setting the oppressed free? Is it really about being a witness in Norfolk to the transforming love of Jesus? That's our mission for our church here. Or is it starting to become more about me trying to satisfy an imaginary audience and showing that I'm doing something productive during this shutdown? And Wednesday's failure, it caused me to think through these things, and I've come to the realization that really what I've done is I've exchanged one slavery for another. So previously I was feeling kind of crushed by the administrative apparatus. The shutdown hit and I thought, okay, this is all on hold for a while. It's time for something new. And then I promptly made myself beholden to a new master, like just pumping out videos like some queen ant on her nest. And it occurs to me that I've simply moved from one tyranny into another. And what's worse, I've taken this video production and I've actually turned it into an idol. Now, we don't usually use that word a whole lot these days. We don't talk about idols, but an idol is anything that is more important than God, something set up in God's place, anything that interferes or impedes our relationship with God. That's what an idol is. And to me, I have to say that these videos actually have become an idol. And it's not strictly the videos themselves, excuse me, but it's that need to perform and that need to produce that underlies the videos. That's the issue. And that's that same need to perform and produce that makes me sit on so many committees and boards that I get on the verge of just kind of burnout, right? So one verse this is the verse that came to me at the start of the year as our verse for our family that we would live by, but I keep coming back to it because it's applying to the whole world at the moment. Isaiah 43. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the things of the past. See, I am doing something new. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? So God is doing a new thing, and rather paradoxically, there's nothing new about that. God is always doing a new thing. But it's that first line that I need to keep coming back to, that dwelling in the past. Because the truth is we're all in a new situation. None of us have been in a worldwide lockdown before. We have no idea what that's all about. We're feeling it out as we go along. And the problem that I'm finding is that I'm in this novel situation, but I'm holding on to my old attitudes. So my focus on mastery and praxis and performance, these are all remnants of that old world. And in many ways, this inordinate emphasis on production and mastery, on doing rather than being, that's really at the root of so many of our world's problems. Now, early on during the pandemic, as things started shutting down, there was a phrase that kept rolling through my mind over and over again. It was, let's not waste this pandemic. And I don't yet grasp the full implications of what this means, but I do know that it has to do with forgetting the former things and looking for what God is doing now among us. So right now we're on pause, like the whole world is on pause. So let's not be in a hurry to just blindly return to what was. Now, I started off talking about these videos that I've been making, these little vignettes that illustrate where I've seen God at work in my life. And I've decided that I'm still going to do them, but I'm not going to do them in the way in which I have been. So instead of creating a video every day and becoming a slave to production, I'll record videos when I sense that God has something to say through me. And this is going to mean fewer videos, but hopefully it'll mean much more spirit. And I'm choosing that I'm going to be obedient to God rather than a slave to production. Because let's face it, we all choose our masters. And I want to choose the master who loves me, who loves you, who loves each of us through and using one another. I have great hope that this obedience to God rather than production is the path of not wasting this pandemic. This is the path of proclaiming good news to the poor, sight to the blind, freedom to the captives, and the year of the Lord's favor.